Art, welcome back. It's great to speak with you again. Today, we're going to ask you to build on some recent insights you shared with Gasworld around the rise of B2B e-commerce and where our industry sits with that area of digitization.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Thanks for the opportunity once again, and just welcome everyone. And the topic of e-commerce is one, like you said, everybody's very familiar with it. They think of probably companies such as Amazon, right? And obviously, the largest retailer in the world, the largest e-commerce company in the world. And I think when you see what they're doing in the B2C space, and how they've really have dominated that space, and now they've also moved into the B2B space. They kind of give us a little bit of a glimpse of what we could be doing from a B2B capabilities perspective. And even though Amazon's doing a bang up job in their space, I mean, even the majors in the industrial gas space. When you look at the majors, even some of the regional and independent players, they've done a decent job with regards to e-commerce capability, largely focused on their customers, right? But when you look at the rest of the industry, there's still a significant portion of our industry that has not enabled their websites with e-commerce capabilities. Or if they have, they really have just they've done it really piecemeal to a small degree. And either way, that either of those two options really puts your business at risk to competition. So I think in the article it was really more of a call to action to try to get companies thinking why now, and then really just what are some of the key steps and best practices to kind of move forward in this space. So, I mean, I think a couple topics from an e-commerce perspective, just to give people, a little bit of a background. I think we know it's been around a long time, like you said. I think when you look at the latest numbers, the latest forecasts, let's looking at U.S. numbers. I mean, U.S. numbers, they kind of forecast B2B e-commerce sales will reach about $1.8 trillion in 2023. So really about 2 years from now. I think the global number might be, 3.5 to 4x that number. So when you hear that number, 1.8 trillion, that is really about, they're forecasting about 17% of total B2B sales. So what that means is basically almost $1 in $5 of B2B sales are going to be coming through e-commerce. That's the forecast, and that's at a macro level. Understand? And I know people are probably saying, well, hey, the industrial gas business is a little bit different, right? And our customers are a little bit different, and I think our performance is probably a little bit more muted than that kind of ratio, but I think we all can say the experience from the pandemic probably challenges that assumption. I think we've seen how our customers have changed and how we have changed, or at least have shown flexibility in changing how we could do business, right, virtually. And I think, I know you had McKinsey on earlier. They've done a good job in terms of tracking, how companies operated, kind of like before, during, and after the pandemic. Right. And they had numbers that they've quoted in the past, that 75 to 80% of B2B sales were transferred to a virtual mode, whether it be, video conference or phone or web or digital sales. Right. And then after, they kind of talk to the same people after spending some time in that world, that more virtual world, they said that probably half of them really considered that new model to be just as effective or even better than before COVID. And that's kind of after a few months of kind of working out the kinks and actually operating in that virtual mode. So that's about half the folks, and then most of those folks kind of said, well, I'm likely gonna, continue to sustain these for 12 months or even more because I like the productivity that I received in doing my job. And that's coming from a procurement perspective, right? And I think all of us who are, all of us on this phone are kind of business development people to some degree. I think we've seen the change from our customers, right? And they have been more comfortable in the, some of them, not all of them, but have become comfortable doing business virtually. So, I mean, I think the pandemic really has accelerated our learning curve, our digital learning curve. And I think some people have said it has accelerated it 3 to 5 years, on average, right? Because there's been companies, I think, we all have examples of companies that had things on the shelf, and they accelerated that through the pandemic, or they made a wholesale change with regards to their strategy, actually taking a look at a digital strategy and changing way they've done business. So yeah, I mean, I go back, that $1 in $5 may not be as much of a stretch, right? When you think about what we've learned during the pandemic, and just a couple things, just to share with regards to this key steps and best practices for companies looking to do something in this space. It's not rocket science, right? But when you look at doing, e-commerce kind of platform or upgrading your existing platform, you clearly start with strategy. Any business transformation starts with a strategy. But the key, I think, when you look at e-commerce, is that you really need to talk to your customers, and not just the commercial people. And I say that kind of smiling a bit because I spent most of my time in commercial, but talking to the customers now, because they have a perspective on how they want to do business differently, kind of going forward. I think the second step is really just building, the right project team, which obviously makes sense, right? But I think with regards to, the e-commerce space, you really need to have an e-commerce design partner. Someone who is objective, agnostic to platform. There's a lot of great platforms out there: Shopify, NetSuite, Salesforce, Magento, even some small ones like EvolutionX. There's a variety of options, and I think having someone who is a bit agnostic to that, provides some objectivity, will get you through the design phase a bit easier, because really the next phase, the design build phase, is going to be tied to that design package. And during the design, I think the one thing, us being all users in the B2C space, we know that two things that are really important. One is that we need to simplify the journeys that our customers take on our platform, right? So we just need to do the basics. And one of the things you use is actually customer journey mapping to do that. You look at specific processes that customers are doing, and you do those nearly flawlessly, and you start small and you just add to those. And if you do that, you're well on your way. And then secondly is really just making the experience seamless, right? And I think there may be many of interfaces to back-end systems, but the customer should not experience that at all. So I think those are really the two key design points when you're looking at a platform. And then really the last step is just launching, scaling and improving. And, I think the best practice from an e-commerce perspective there is just keeping things fresh and relevant. I think we know the experience when things get stale, it's not upgraded, you're not going to use it, right? And I think the other best practice is really personalization. And kind of making sure that whatever you're putting out there is customized to the company, is customized to the user. It tailors experiences, pricing, discounts, status updates with regards to inventory and delivery status in near real-time fashion. If you do some of those things, then you're well on your way. And just kind of in closing, Rob, I think we kind of refer to this section kind of like the rise of e-commerce. It's really more like the continued rise, so to speak, since it's been around so long. And really, the terminology should really be digital commerce. And I know Gartner's been trying to say that for a couple of years, because really all the technology that enables e-commerce is digital in nature. Some of the things that both Richard and Steve have brought up in their section. So it really should be called digital commerce, and at some point it will get there.